Our meeting tonight is now open for the sharing of testimonies of healing through Christian Science. Jeremy.
I'm very grateful to be learning Christian Science at this church and to be a member here. This coming month, our translator in Pakistan will start preparing the weekly lessons in Marathi, Nepali, Pashto, Persian, Sindhi, and Tamil. My gratitude tonight is for how God has been preparing us to take on this extra work by providing the inspiration and understanding needed to make little programs that work together to prepare the text, the audio, and the videos. Before coming to Plainfield, I'd never done anything remotely like this type of work. It was only after coming here and learning that God created all of us to express His qualities and learning to demonstrate Christian Science as we do this work for the world that I have begun to move beyond the limitations I had placed on myself. In the past years, I have noticed a change from feeling worthless and incapable, how I felt when I first came here, to feeling that whatever God gives me to do, I know it will come about because He is working through me. I'm so grateful to have been given this opportunity to prove Christian Science in my life and to have the support of my practitioner along the way. It is so wonderful, especially because I can now see how amazing it will be when all mankind begins to learn Christian Science and work in that same manner. I'm very grateful to have this place and purpose and the joy that comes with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Joanne from Florida. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. I testified to this healing once before, but I feel it's worth repeating. All my life I suffered with chronic constipation. Sometimes I would go 2 or 3 days or more without a normal bowel movement, and often would have to take medication for relief. When I came back to Plainfield Church and started working with a practitioner here, I asked her for help with this problem. One of the things she told me was to work daily with the definition of God in Science and Health by Mary Baker Eddy and apply it to me as God's idea. The definition reads, God, the great I am, the all-knowing, all-seeing, all-acting, all-wise, all-loving, and eternal. Principle, mind, soul, spirit, life, truth, love, all substance, intelligence. I pray this every day, and when it says, the great I am, I add, the only I am that I am. That was almost 3 years ago, and my bowel movements have been normal every day since. I'm so grateful to the practitioner for this healing and for the deeper understanding of God that studying this definition has brought me. I'm grateful for membership in this church and to be here tonight amidst all this healing love. And thank you for those very fine readings tonight.
Thank you. Betty from California. Go ahead, please.
Good evening. Thank you for the music tonight and for the wonderful readings tonight. I wish to express gratitude for a healing of a fall about 4 or 5 weeks ago when my husband decided to clean out his office, and that's a whole nother healing. I decided to adjust the curtain in his office, and I caught my shoe on a chair mat, and down I went. I declared God good and apologized for my self-will regarding that curtain. My big toe and lower leg were quite painful, but I was able to get up and walk carefully, declaring any truths I could think of, particularly the 91st Psalm with the angels. And the worst of the pain was gone, except for, of course, when I had to move about and put socks on and stuff like that. After a couple of days, I finally called a practitioner from the Plainfield Church. She said it was impersonal malpractice, and to work with the 91st Psalm, especially verses 9 through 12, in that regards to angels and how they'll hold you up when you dash your foot on against the stone. And also to handle the belief of age and falls, accidents. And I had mentioned something about balance. And she said, God balances the heavens. And that also I needed to be more active and suggested, taking a walk every day. Well, not every day, but to take more walks. From that day, with working with the practitioner, with each day there was a noticeable improvement until I was completely healed and walking freely and pain-free. This took some time, but I just noticed every single day it was something, oh, now I can do this, and it didn't hurt. Partway through this, I was getting a Charlie horse feeling behind the one knee and found myself walking it off. Finally, I said, okay, God, the practitioner is working and I'm working. What do I need to do? And very quickly came the thought, relax, in big old letters and a great big exclamation point. I kind of laughed to myself. Well, that makes sense. And so I did so. Mentally and physically, I worked on relaxing. And as I relaxed, that Charlie horse thing gradually got less and less until it disappeared. I darn near forgot about it when I was writing this testimony. Anyway, I am so grateful for Christian Science as taught in this church, for this healing, and for lessons learned and progress made, and for practitioner help during this time and over the years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nancy, New Jersey.
Nancy from New Jersey. Go ahead, please.
Thank you for the beautiful readings and the music tonight. I feel so blessed to be a member of this church. We are not only being taught Mrs. Eddy's pure Christian Science, but to how to live and apply this science in all aspects of our life. I'm so grateful to God for placing me here in this loving, healing environment and providing me with opportunities to help in working for the church. I'm deeply grateful for our church practitioners, for their tireless dedication in teaching this science, enriching and strengthening us, and helping us to grow in our understanding and demonstration. I'm also very grateful to my fellow church members for their examples of the brotherly love that I see and feel being expressed by each and every one of them. I'm so grateful for our website, which is rich in the spiritual food that meets our every need. In Science and Health on page 583, Mrs. Eddy defines church as the structure of truth and love, whatever rests upon and proceeds from divine principle. To me, this describes the Plainfield Christian Science Church Independent perfectly. The blessings that I have received since coming to the Plainfield Church are numerous, and they have been life-changing. I am deeply grateful for Christ Jesus, for Mary Baker Eddy, and I cannot express my gratitude enough for my practitioner, for her patience, her encouragement, the love, and the strong, prayerful support. Thank you, Father, Mother, God. And good evening to all. Thank you.
Thank you. Benjamin.
Yeah. I'm so happy to be here tonight. And thanks to Amanda for the inspiring reading. 3 days ago, just about around this time, my wife came down with a flu-like symptoms that was accompanied with severe pain all over her body. And it continued to get worse. Then I decided to call a practitioner from this church for help. My wife, she's new to Christian Science and still learning. But she was very receptive when I told her that I was going to call a practitioner to help us with prayers. And I called the practitioner. And thank God for the practitioners we have in this church. She was willing to help us, and she told me right away. She gave me some statement of truth. Then she told me to read from Science and Health, page 390 to 397, and 94 Psalms. And one of the statements she gave me that means a lot to me is from 94 Psalms. It says, because thou hast made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High, thy habitation. Thou shalt no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come nigh thy dwelling. And this statement was so much true. And I walk with this statement. I remember that night reading this statement and other statement from Science and Health. Then I just look around our house, and I can feel the presence of God occupying every space. And I was telling myself very loudly that time that God fills every space. And if God fills every space, error or evil in any form has no dwelling place here. And I continue to repeat this to myself and knowing this truth as I read them to my wife. And the practitioner told me to call her back in the morning when she started to get better, which I did. By the morning, she already started to, it was a completely different person from a few hours before. And the practitioner told me to continue to work with this statement from the 94 Psalms, which I did. By the end of the day, she was completely healed. The fever had left her, all the pains was completely gone. She started to eat well, which she was having difficulty doing the night before. And her breathing was completely normal. Her temperature had completely dropped. And I can't describe my happiness for this quick healing. But I owe gratitude to the practitioner for her loving kindness and for making herself available when it was needed. I'm very grateful to Mary Baker Eddy for what she has given to this world through her discovery and her writings. I'm very grateful to God, the Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, for being so merciful to us all. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave from Florida, go ahead, please.
Yeah, hi. The other day I was using a Q-tip in my ear, and I pushed it in too far and pushed wax snug against my eardrum. The ear was totally plugged, and I couldn't hear out of it. It wasn't clearing itself, and this went on for like the whole day. So the next day, I asked a practitioner for help. She said, truth removes properly whatever is offensive. And I worked with that thought all day. In a short time, I started feeling relief, and by the end of the day, the ear was entirely clear. I'm grateful for this quick healing and for the work of the practitioner. I'm also grateful for Christian Science and to be a member of this church that practices Christian Science the way Mrs. Eddy intended it. Thank you.
Thank you. Shardy.
Good evening to all. Thank you for the readings tonight and the wonderful music. I would like to tell of a recent event where I practiced newfound trust and calm. God is the cause and effect of everything in our lives, big and small. I found it necessary yesterday to locate a UPS store that I might use later in this week. My practitioner knew of this little trip and was supporting me. Not too far from me, but an unknown area, where the location was on a very busy 3-lane highway where the speed limit is 50 miles per hour in most places. That's where the UPS store was. I listened to my GPS. When I got to my destination, I was moving fast, and when the GPS said turn here, I went zooming right past and did not see a UPS sign. Now, ordinarily, I would have just returned home, but I was calm and undeterred. When I realized, as I was trying to go around the blocks to try again, that I couldn't take a right turn on the freeway, I was taken on a merry trip that took me up the mountain all around and getting back down where I had come from. The scenic view was beautiful, and I was praying a thank you to God for his amazing world. Well, by the time I made my third trip by the UPS store and found it and made a fast turn into the entrance where I spotted a tiny store, I returned home. It had been an hour and a half for a trip that could be done in 15 minutes. I am so grateful for this experience of calm resolve, putting God in charge and finishing a task with joy. Thank you.
Thank you. Bruce.
Very thankful for the wonderful gems we have on our website. Recently there was a day where it looked like I had a lot of things lined up to do that day, appointments and errands and much more. But I read this one article that we're featuring on the home page of our website, and it's called The Law of God to This Day, and it's by Mary Baker Eddy. And one of the things that it says in this article, it says, all things which pertain to this day are already perfected, already arranged, and completed. Well, I'm grateful that I read that at the beginning of the day. It set my thought very calmly, which was quite nice. And I got into the things that I had to do, and it just seemed like they just fell into place. When it was time for me to take off and go on an errand, even though there was a lot of snow on the ground, found a place to park, got in, did my business quickly, and was on my way. And the same thing happened with my appointments and other things that I had to do that day. And at the end of the day, it was like God was telling me, you see, I had it all ordered all along. I'm so grateful for that. God sure is good.
Thank you. Lil.
Thank you for those wonderful readings and the beautiful music. I recently had a proof of God's ever-present love and to be always listening for his directions. Shortly after returning home from shopping, I was gathering my keys to put into my purse. I couldn't find my house keys, looking everywhere. I stayed calm so I could hear God's message. He's always telling us what we need to know, so we must always be listening and obeying. I suddenly got a strong thought to check my house door on the driveway, which I hardly use, but did that day. I opened the door, and there were the keys in the outside lock, where I accidentally left them. I kept thanking God over and over for his loving direction and that I listened. God is blessing us everywhere, every moment.
Thank you. Linda.
Thank you very much for the readings tonight and the music. I want to express my gratitude to be learning what a merciful, gracious God we have. While we learn to listen to the still small voice and let go of personal will and planning. For so many years, I prided myself in being very well organized and was often highly praised by employers for this skill. But through many trials, I have been put into situations where I was no longer able to use my effort to even do basic tasks. Everything was forcing me to turn to God for help, and it was worth the effort because things now, when I do this, go more smoothly. People who help me are professional, kind, and know what they're doing. And ideas come to me that prove to be exactly the right answer without any struggling or excessive research. This has been a blessing, although it's been a difficult lesson, but it's teaching me to turn to God as my source for timing, direction, and organization, and knowing the next step. I'm grateful for the proper support and instruction of my practitioner during these challenges, and for the many other people who have shared their experiences. I've been protected from mistakes. I've had what I call angel messages reminding me at the last minute to take care of something, and warnings which I'm learning to heed. I'm learning that when I feel pressure and overthink, then I start running into problems, delays, unhelpful people, and things that take my peace and time. When things go very well, I know these are not coincidences. Because of the exactness and the timing and the planning, that there's no way you can humanly do this, and the protection that you get. I'm very grateful for learning to work daily, more consistently with the prayers and watching my thought, because you get what you think. And I'm very grateful for all the classes and the reading material on our website. I'm very grateful to God and Christ Jesus and Mary Baker Eddy and this dear church. Thank you.
Thank you. I was reminded recently that I used to be prone to get muscle cramps in my legs very often. And I had mentioned it to a practitioner, and the practitioner reminded me of a statement in Science and Health that says, muscles are thought forces. And that just, I thought that was wonderful. That kind of took all the fear off of my thinking about the cramps. And so I would pray with that before I'd go to bed at night, and that my thought is strong in God. It's governed by God, and it can't be manipulated. And that was always such a help too. And very soon after that, the muscle cramps stopped, and I hardly ever get them at all anymore. I'm so very grateful for how practical Science and Health is, and Mrs. Eddy's teachings, that we can use them and get wonderful effects from them. I'm so very grateful for Christian Science, and grateful for this church and for practitioner help. Thank you.
Nebraska.
Sandy from Nebraska, go ahead, please.
Okay, I just want to very quickly just make some remarks. I was looking at some of the comments about the Psalm 91, the interpretation, the Miss Doris Y. Evans give to the Psalm 91. So as I was looking, I guess I was looking at comments. People were saying they like the accent of the person who have the accent from England or New Zealand or Australia. And then I was thinking, okay, that's not what is important. I say, let me look and look at the website and read about Miss Dory Y. Evans. I've been studying and reading of your website. Miss Dory Y. Evans. Incredible. Incredible. Her humility. It's amazing what you guys are doing every day. I'm marvelous. I even feel guilty. I said, this is the pearl of great. This is the pearl of great price, Miss Doris White Evans, and she was talking about her when she got married, and a lot of in her family, everybody was suffering obesity, and she started working about and how she got her demonstration, and she went from one size to size 8. And I've been studying all day. I've been taking away because I always heard Miss Mary Beth mention Miss Evans. Now I know who was Miss Doris White Evans. And the important is not the accent of the person that reads the Psalm 91. It's the spiritual interpretation, the illumined thought of Doris White Evans. And also in your website, how you guys confront the error from the Mother Church. And now I see clearly because I wasn't understanding. And the moral courage that you guys putting all this stuff, I keep it forwarded to everybody around the world. I said, this is the church, Independent Christian Scientists, New Jersey, and U.S. and the United States of America. This is the ones that are giving the teachings of Miss Mary Baker Eddy the way she intended, without getting people memorized by the Mother Church. I'm so grateful the opportunity in my lifetime to encounter you guys, Independent Christian Scientists, New Jersey. I'm so joyful. I'm so grateful. Everything on the website is so much food. It's so much fruitage. My life is better. Like Miss Mary Baker Eddy say, you know, as you find this, never go back to error. Every day I feel so much joy in my life. And now that I get to meet this wonderful lady that she's still growing in a different plane, Miss Doris White Evans. I'm so grateful for Independent Christian Scientists, New Jersey. I'm so grateful for Mary Baker Eddy, and I'm so grateful for Jesus Christ. I'm just so grateful also for the United States of America. They brought this teaching forward by the illumined thought of Mary Baker Eddy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cara, New Mexico.
Cara from New Mexico. Go ahead, please.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much for those wonderful readings and for all of the online services that Plainfield offers to those of us who can listen in from wherever we are. And I always hear something that sustains me. At last Sunday's roundtable, there was a wonderful discussion about keeping our windows clean so that the truth can shine through. And that made me think about something that's ended up being really beneficial all week. Many years ago, I had the privilege of visiting the conservation lab of one of the world's greatest museums, and they were cleaning a Van Gogh painting. Of course, it was incredible to see this masterpiece in such a private and intimate setting. But one of the things the conservationists told us, which I've never forgotten, is that as the science of art conservation improved, they learned things about paintings that they could have never discovered before. This particular painting, everyone thought it had a very distinctive background. It was a very strange pale pink. And over the years, art historians had theorized about why Van Gogh had chosen that particular color. Well, what the conservationists discovered was that Van Gogh hadn't chosen that color at all. The background had turned pink over time. And apparently many colors change over time. And it takes cleaning a painting to be able to see what the artist originally intended. Lately, I've been praying about the belief of chronic conditions. And chronic, of course, means ongoing over time. And I've been really trying to pay attention to something else I heard in the roundtable, surplus thinking. And my surplus thinking about the ways animal magnetism would slide in little lies like, oh, things just change as we get older, but not always for the better. Or that's been going on so long and you'll just learn to live with it. Or, everyone experiences something like this. But what I'm learning at Plainfield is that if I remember to clean my thoughts with the science of Christ, then I can experience what I saw in that Van Gogh, how it and I were originally created. Perfect God, perfect creation, perfect me. And that's not some platitude. What we're taught here at Plainfield is to work and to watch and to pray and to clean our thoughts of everything that was not created by God, so that we can always and only see the perfection God created and maintains continually. And thanks to the roundtable, that reminder was just what I needed this week. I'm so grateful for the rigorous practice of Christian Science here at Plainfield, practitioner support, and the incredible online study resources. And I'm grateful to be here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Gary.
One of the many life-changing lessons that I am grateful for is learning what what success really is. We all want to succeed. It's a natural desire, at least it's something. And when I came to the Plainfield Church as a young adult, I had always thought of success kind of the way the world thinks of it. And I continued to think of it that way. Achieving things that people could see and admire, more money, a better job, things. And after coming to Plainfield, I began to see a pattern. Every once in a while, I would be blessed with something that would be considered success. And whenever it happened, I would feel good for a day and then lose it. And feel like, well, I guess I have to achieve something else or exceed it or whatever. And although I didn't realize it at the time, I was driven. And it was not a happy driven. And it was not a fulfilling life. And after being a member of this church here for a while, I talked to a practitioner about it. And the practitioner asked me, where is God in all this? Who is being blessed by this? And that got me thinking, and it got me to start changing the way I looked at success. And I realized that success is not anything like what the world tells you it is. And with the help of that practitioner, I began to realize that success is obeying and pleasing God. Period. Nothing else. Nothing more, nothing less. It's that simple. And realizing that made a huge difference in my life. I began to make some changes. I left a job that was considered to be really, really successful because I was miserable in it. Got a job that enabled me to spend more time with my family and my church and my friends here, and do more other things that God wanted me to do. And that has only progressed. And as a result of those changes, I can tell you I'm a much happier person. And when I am blessed, I thank God for the blessing. I find that I have more time to do things and more desire to do things for others. And that gives me a happiness that I've never lost, and nobody can ever take it from me. I feel like I've been freed from a very destructive belief about success that would have made my life miserable had I not been lifted out of it by Christian Science. I lack nothing. My family lacks nothing. And the church that I'm a member of lacks nothing. And for that I'm very grateful, because God takes good care of us. So I thank God. I thank the practitioner for showing me what success really is. And I thank Mary Baker Eddy for giving us this science of life, the science of Christianity, which makes all things plain. So good to be with you all tonight.
Thank you. Florence from Georgia. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Amanda, for those special readings about God and His wonderful creation, which really help us appreciate His perfection. Many, many, many mornings when I've woken up and felt miserable one way or the other, it's so wonderful to see the birds chirping, to see the birds flying and chirping, and see the squirrels just busy about looking for their nuts. And I must say many times, just looking at that has helped uplift my thinking. The beauty all these creatures express show God's almightiness and His allness, and at times marveling about how uniquely some of these birds are colored. I just sit there and I'm like, what kind of an artist could do this? Recently, there was a group of birds that every year they come around, and it's totally black, and then a very beautiful orange streak right around their wing there. It just is impressive. And all this helped me to see what a great God we have. It helps me to see and praise His wonderful name. I just wanted to say I am so grateful for everything that God has made that help us love Him more and find how to love ourselves and our brother man. I'm happy to be here tonight.
Thank you. Mary.
Good evening. I'll start off with our church website, bulletin board. Virginia, many thanks for the Bible study, February 20th, with Solomon's words from Ecclesiastes and bringing out Jesus' teachings. Also thanks for the Sunday roundtable, rich with words of truth, direction, and enlightening information of correct action and how to be alert. The culmination of all was truly wonderful. With the Sunday service, everything was inspiring and uplifting, from the scriptural readings and the readings of fruitage and miscellaneous writings to the readings of the lesson sermon and the choral offering. God's hand was on it all. Thank you. In North Carolina, Gilbert Carpenter in Watch 29 compares man's spiritual growth to that of a tree, and that a proper balance be struck between a man's comprehension of the truth, that part of the tree above ground, and his demonstration of that truth, that part which is rooted below the ground. He makes reference to Mrs. Eddy, telling us we can only understand what we can demonstrate. I was particularly struck by his use of a tree to make this point. It is amazing to me that there is a place in a tree where decisions are made to grow down and root into the earth or grow up into the light. This divine intelligence ensures not only the direction, but the exact proportions necessary, both above and below ground, to create balance. Such harmonious design is a beautiful model for us to emulate, growing towards the light in greater understanding of God's allness, while rooted in demonstrating that understanding, creating balance and harmony. How grateful I am for divine intelligence. And this email from Trinidad. Someone new, I think. Thank you for the wonderful things you are all doing. I am from Trinidad, and I enjoy all the readings and services. I love to hear Florence and Gary. Thank you. And then this testimony from California. I would like to express gratitude for all that I am learning at the Plainfield Christian Science Independent Church. One lesson I am learning is to hand matters off to God. As a child, we played a game called Hot Potato, where we would pass a ball around to music playing. When the music stopped, the person holding the ball lost. I feel like I am playing this game now. The music is playing. I am the only player. How fast I can get rid of the hot potato, or what I'm now calling animal magnetism, before being caught with it and losing the game. Each day brings new opportunities for playing the game. I was recently involved in a car accident. It was not my fault, and it totaled my vehicle. Over the past 2 weeks, time would have been free to pursue my Christian Science studies has been used in part to deal with insurance companies. I've had times where I felt great frustration at how things were operating and disappointment in people. However, at each point where the frustration was at its worst, a gentle reminder came to me to place the matter in God's hands and listen for His direction. When I did this, throwing away the hot potato, harmonious resolutions came. An incident with the car rental company was resolved in a way which demonstrated God's ever-present love, and I was blessed with finding a new car, which was better than anything I had previously ever known. I am so grateful to be waking up to the need to put things under God's care sooner rather than later. Mrs. Eddy's poem, The Mother's Evening Prayer, one of our hymns, tells us to turn things over to God, who is our refuge, and she presents a very strong case for doing so. Tonight I thank God for leading me to the Plainfield Christian Science Independent Church, for the early workers in Christian Science, for our practitioners and members who continually demonstrate their love of God, Christ Jesus, Mrs. Eddy, and her revelation of Christian Science. And then a testimony from Missouri. On page 254 of our textbook, Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy, it states, quote, individuals are consistent, who watching and praying can run and not be weary, walk and not faint, who gain good rapidly and hold their position, or attain slowly and yield not to discouragement. This testimony of healing is meant to encourage those who may be tempted to yield to discouragement, as it was not a quick healing, but one that I attained slowly over many months. Ironically, it is at the same time a testimony to the truth of what we read in Hebrews 4:12, which promises, "For the word of God is quick and powerful and sharper than any two-edged sword." As part of my duties as a member of a joint institutional committee, which was holding church services and conference sessions in local jails and state prisons at the time, I visited such facilities on a weekly basis. During many months, in spite of consistent prayer on my own for healing, as well as receiving help from a Christian Science practitioner, a rash that started inconspicuously on the palm of one of my hands, where it could easily be kept out of sight, eventually spread to the back of both my hands and started to creep up my fingers. It was itchy, uncomfortable, and ugly, though I did my best to keep it covered with makeup and/or Band-Aids as much as possible. I worked to refute the material picture and thought consistently throughout each day, though it was difficult with my hands constantly in view. Then, one morning, while serving at a medium security jail, an inmate who had heard about Christian Science and our committee's work from other inmates but who was housed in a different part of the institution than where we regularly served, requested a visit. I gained permission to visit this new inquirer, which necessitated walking down several very long corridors and going through several large automatic sliding doors to get to his area in the jail. As I was standing in front of one of the doors, I noticed a simple 3-word sign in large capital letters that was posted with a warning to prevent potential injuries. It read, "Keep hands clear." When my eye caught those words, I almost laughed out loud, considering that the state of the skin on my hands was anything but clear. After visiting with the inmate, I had time to ponder the 3 words I had read on the warning sign during my drive home. During my study, I had been reminded that in the Interpreter's Bible it states that, quote, "The hand of the Lord is a regular metaphor for the power of God," end quote. So, "keep hands clear" became to my receptive thought this warning or directive. Keep the power of God clear in your consciousness. In other words, remember at all times that the power of God is the only power and that there is no other power but His. The lesson or message that I received through these simple 3 words that day was quick and powerful one to my thinking. Thus, the many months long and the spreading rash on both of my hands was quickly arrested and healed, and all signs of any sores completely cleared up within about a week, thus proving what our leader states in the textbook on page 365, that if the patient is reached by divine love, the disease will vanish into its native nothingness, like dew before the morning sunshine. My thought reached by divine love that day, and with just 3 words, the challenge was quickly healed as the mesmerism was broken and the soil of my consciousness had been cultivated and prepared by God during the preceding months of study and prayer to receive the needed enlightenment. So even when a healing seems to be elusive and delayed, we can yield not to discouragement. Rather, we can be consistent in standing fast and in knowing that progress, which is the law of God, is made, and we can remain calm, confident, and unswerving in knowing that the healing is going on, though it may not yet be manifest visibly. And I have some more, but I'll wait till next week. I just wanted to say how grateful I am for those beautiful readings. So important that we love all of God's creation and that we live in harmony with all of it and see it rightfully, so beautifully read. It was also read from Rudimental Divine Science by Mrs. Eddy. To sense the lion of today is the lion of 6,000 years ago. But in science, spirit sends forth its own harmless likeness. And just reminded me, because this week some of us went to our little local theater, we saw a movie that Carrie had sent us, a DVD called The Book of Daniel. And there's just a beautiful scene in that movie of Daniel in the lion's den. Looks much like the picture we've talked about that was painted that Mrs. Eddy had on the wall of her bedroom, with Daniel looking toward the light and the lions peacefully sitting around him. And so it is when we're in that state of calm, loving reliance on the Father, even what would seem bestial ferocity will not be that. It will be living in harmony with all of God's creatures. Such a beautiful demonstration of that. So thank you for those beautiful readings, and I'm so grateful to be with you all and hear the wonderful healings you've had all week. And have a good night.
Thank you.